Don Lebatard.
Never going to stop. I am what I am, man. I'm 44 years old. I ain't changing.
Stugotz.
Why change now? It's worked. Here I am. Sitting next to you. Filthy rich.
This is the Don Lebatard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Dan Wallach is a partner at the law firm Becker and Polikoff. He's going to join us here in just a second on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Live.
What he is someone who's been in all of these hearings, Supreme Court hearings, Albany hearings. He's been in all these hearings and can explain to us what the NBA is trying to do here.
Here's your SportsCenter update. The Farmers Insurance Open begins today, and that brings the return of Tiger Woods to professional golf. His tee time is at 1:40. My tee time's at 2:20. Me, golf cart, iPad, cocktail, collision course. How about that? That is some afternoon right there. The Patriots have officially placed Rob Gronkowski on the Super Bowl initial injury report with a concussion. He's playing. And finally, I bleep you not, CBS has announced that Murphy Brown is returning to TV. I love that show. Candace Bergen is back.
For the love of God, are you kidding me with CBS?
Reprising her starring role.
CBS, you're lazy. CBS, have an original idea. Somebody at the network, somebody in charge of something. Murphy Brown, are you kidding me?
30th anniversary, man.
Barnaby Jones is coming back next. What's the matter with you, CBS?
They gave Murph a 13-episode commitment.
Guillermo, put it on the poll. Is CBS ageist against young people? CBS. It's Tom Selleck, Kevin James, Murphy Brown. Are you bleeping kidding me, CBS?
Wasn't it Mark Harmon, too?
Yeah, Moonves is giving us advice on how to revolutionize our business model.
Christ almighty. No, Moonves has definitely plastic on his couches at home, right?
Is there a better name of a person who's in charge of CBS than Leslie Moonves?
It should be. You're so right about this. Somebody come in with a better name than Leslie Moonves as a leader for all the dust on the CBS network.
1-800-Flowers.com always has something fun and exciting to surprise her with. Right now, when you order a dozen multicolored roses for just $29.99, you'll get another dozen plus a vase absolutely free. To order, go to 1-800-Flowers.com, click the radio icon, enter code Dan. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in the SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
I mean, Rupert Murdoch ain't great either.
It's pretty good. Rupert Murdoch is pretty good. But I think when you go all in with your Rupert Murdoch, I'm going to come over the top with my Leslie Moonves because, honestly, that's how you're going out after Netflix, Moonves. Murphy Brown. That's how you've decided to keep up in 2018 with Tom Selleck, Murphy Brown.
And they'll promote it, I promise you.
For
it's
sure.
America's number
That's
one
right.
new drama.
America's number one new old person drama, Murphy Brown. All right, so Dan Wallach is with us now because we've been talking about the NBA. This all seems crazy to me. And so this guy's been in all these hearings and can explain it. Dan, why am I wrong? I believe that this is a seismic shift in sports. I believe that we are right now presently in the middle of something that, if Silver can pull this off, is going to change sports. So explain to me, please, and thank you for being on with us, what's happening here, because I can't believe a commissioner in sports is doing this.
Well, it's not Commissioner Silver, and it's a pleasure to join you, Dan and Stu Gotts. This is 9 justices on the United States Supreme Court that are on the verge of shifting the landscape for sports betting because a couple of weeks ago, the court heard a case which involved the state of New Jersey's challenge to the federal ban on state-sanctioned sports betting. This ban, which is known as PASPA, the Professional and Amateur Sports Protection Act, has been in place for 25 years, and it has prevented states from legalizing sports betting. New Jersey has challenged it on constitutional grounds, and the court was very receptive to New Jersey's arguments. So I think the conventional wisdom is the court will strike or invalidate PASPA, thereby clearing the way for states like New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Pennsylvania to offer sports gambling within their borders. So I think the NBA and Adam Silver are trying to get ahead of the curve and try to at least extract whatever concessions they need from state governments in order to allow this.
Why is the NBA leading on this?
If it was the NFL, they wouldn't find a very receptive audience with all their problems. The NBA has been a thought leader on the subject of sports betting going back to 2014 when Adam Silver penned an op-ed in the New York Times urging the legalization of sports gambling through a comprehensive federal solution. What the NBA wants to see is a uniform scheme that all states can abide by, done at the federal level, rather than through a patchwork of different state laws, which is what New Jersey was trying to accomplish. But I think that issue has gotten away from the NBA somewhat, and now the NBA, in order to have some say in the process, is going to get involved at the state governmental level and try to influence laws in New York, New Jersey, and all around the country. So the NBA has been the thought leader on sports gambling dating back to 2014, and the other leagues are simply just following the NBA's cue on this.
Dan Wallach is with us now. He's a partner at the law firm of Becker and Poliakoff, and he's been in on all these hearings quickly in ways that anyone can understand.
I'll try. I'm a lawyer. It's difficult.
Yeah, well, that's why I asked the question that way. This going to happen by when?
Before week 1 of the 2018 NFL season, New Jersey will have sports gambling. If the Supreme Court strikes PASPA entirely, you could see as many as 15 states, including the key northeastern states of New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, all having sports books and casinos and racetracks, with some internet or mobile-based gambling, confined within state borders. So if this decision goes the way we all expect, we're going to have nationalized sports gambling before the start of the NFL season next year. It's not going to be all 50 states, but it's going to be as many states that can get their laws in place before then, and I expect or project at least a dozen states to be ready to go by week 1.
Explain to me, if you could, what the ask is here by basketball, saying we want 1% of all basketball gambling. How much money do you imagine that would be?
Well, if you take a look at the projected market for even illegal wagering, I think by most experts believe it's somewhere in the neighborhood of $200 billion annually wagered in the illegal market. You take 1% of that, well, that's a $2 billion with a B annual cut for the sports leagues. And since the NBA and the NFL probably are the most dominant sports on which gambling takes place, it could be close to $1 billion annually for the NFL and NBA combined, maybe even more than that.
Who is that negotiation with? Who has to give the basketball the 1%? Like, why would anyone have to give basketball the 1%?
Because the leagues will try to block any legislation that does not include a payoff or a cut of the action. The leagues care about two things here. They want to get paid for their product because without their product, there's no sports gambling. So in essence, it's a payoff, but they've couched it as an integrity fee because the leagues will now have to ramp up their operations to ensure that there are no fixed matches. They'll have to hire betting experts and really have an organization in place to safeguard the league and the game.
Dan, it's a side business. They've got an entire side. Basketball is going to create a multi-billion dollar business on the side.
It's for everybody. They're not the only beneficiaries, Dan. We're talking casinos, racetracks, sports betting operators, Google, Verizon. Verizon is trying to position itself for the online gambling market. This is going to be an economic juggernaut that is not limited to the leagues. It's going to benefit over a whole spectrum of industries. And, of course, the leagues, since they own the games, since they produce the games, want to get a pretty sizable cut here. So they care about the money, and they care about preventing fixed matches. So they're going to insist on consumer protections
that's the part,
and safeguards.
Though, Dan. That's the part that's complicated here. Like, they can try and protect integrity of matches, but isn't the greatest concern here that all of a sudden you'll have another Tim Donaghy situation that they won't be able to monitor it?
Well, you want to be able to monitor it and detect it in an open, transparent, and regulated market. The reason we've only heard about Tim Donaghy and no one else is that the leagues and the industry are basically have their heads in the sand and have no idea what's going on in illegal markets, which are very difficult to monitor. Once you open it up and create like a stock market-like exchange with monitoring and regulation and oversight, you'll be in a position to detect any type of corruption or match-fixing possibilities at the earliest possible time. You're not going to eradicate all of it, but wouldn't it be better to have an early warning system and some ability to detect rather than to pretend it doesn't exist? I mean, basketball's not the problem. Some of the lower leagues, tennis, some of the soccer leagues in Europe. This is not going to be a major problem at the major U.S. professional sport level.
Let me ask you this.
They paid too much money.
If I may ask you, Dan Wallach with us, partner at the law firm Becker and Poliakoff. He's been in on all of these sessions. Who's paying you? Like you sound like you're advocating for this, and so I just don't know what your history is. Like, what are you fighting for? What are you personally fighting for in these meetings?
I'm passionate about the subject. I have not received a dime on this issue from any stakeholder. I've been following the sports betting debate going back to 2011. I'm a gaming lawyer. I'm a sports guy. I just found an issue that I'm deeply passionate about, and I'm not an advocate for anything other than what I think is common sense regulation, which is everybody is going to benefit from this. State governments, the leagues, taxes, the casino, the tourism industry. This is a win-win for everybody as long as there are appropriate safeguards in place to prevent compulsive gambling, safeguards, and to prevent match fixing. I don't have a dime of benefit from any of this. I'm just passionate about the subject, just like you're passionate about sports, and you've earned a living from it. I've, unfortunately not earned a tremendous living from being opinionated about this subject, but it's something I care deeply about, and I think there's a consensus across the board that this is going to happen, and it should happen. Where the disagreement lies is in the vehicle and in the regulatory structure that would work best.
Who would be upset by this? Are you saying no one? No one would be upset by this. Doesn't hurt anyone?
Roger Goodell and those who believe that more gambling creates more problem gambling. Certainly there's a risk of creating a new generation of gambling addicts, but in the absence of any regulation or legalization, there are no safeguards, there's no education, there are no vehicles to help these people.
How about Vegas? Vegas isn't hurt by this at all?
Not in the least bit. The companies that own MGM and Wynn, they own casinos in other states.
Right.
They are supportive of having their properties in other states.
Look,
you crushed it.
First of all, you crushed it. You get the salute of our shipping container. You crushed it. But just for the record, everybody, just for the record, because we'd be irresponsible if we didn't say this, the big drawback is the horrible addiction of gambling that is going to plague all of our country and ruin lives. But other than that, we're good.
Yes.
So thank you, Dan, for your excellent work here. You did important work here.
Dan. Yes. And by the way,
Dan and Stu Gotts, it's the Miami connection. We have to keep it together. I'm located only a few miles away, so I'm glad you located me in plain view here.
Well, is Florida going to be one of those states? Because if not, I'm moving.
Yeah, is Florida going to be one of those states? No.
Florida will be the last mover. The anti-gambling forces in Florida are not at the cutting edge. We can't even expand gambling. We don't have any casinos. We just have racetracks and poker and slot machines.
All right, Dan. All right, that's fine. We'll hire you in Florida. Let's see if we could get cocaine legalized. All right, you'll be our cocaine lawyer.
Dan, I'll work on it.
All right, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Now to the good stuff.
So smart, man, Adam Silver.
Yes, Adam Silver. Well, I mean, is it that Adam Silver is so smart, or is it that Roger Goodell is not? Which is it? Because Goodell's afraid of all this stuff.
Yes, he is.
And Silver's swaggering into it. Hip shaking. 1% of gambling, and this is just the start to the gateway stuff. Next, it's brothel and drugs. And now we got a party.
Yeah.
Dan Le Batard.
It's an opinion question. I gave you my answer.
Okay, but you're wrong.
Oh.
Stu Gotts.
I don't respect your opinion.
Okay.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stu Gotts on ESPN Radio.
For all the talk about the NBA, that was an exceptional segment with that lawyer from Miami. A lot of you are accusing me of being heavy-handed with him by asking who pays you? Where's your money coming from?
It's why you're great. I mean, but it was heavy-handed. I mean, you just went right after him. I mean,
well, but I'm not going to. His information was great. I just wanted to know if, like, he's being paid, like, by lobbyists or what, because his information was very pro-gambling, and so I'm wondering if this is passion or payment.
The question had to be asked. You asked it, but you just went right in. Like, it came out of nowhere. It was quick, but it was good. I mean, just heavy-handed.
All right. Let me ask this question of you as it relates to the NBA, because I feel like this entire NBA season, we're going to be talking about the pettiness between these guys and that guy, and there will be fun and drama and soap opera all season. But tell me if you think I'm right when I say this entire NBA season is going to come down to this thing I'm about to read you. from Tim McMahon of ESPN that this sentence is where the NBA title is going to be decided. There have now been 22 times in NBA history that a team has shot 50-plus threes in a game. Mike D'Antoni's Rockets have done it 19 of those times. Is the NBA season going to come down to 4 of 7, Houston against the Warriors? Are the Rockets going to make more threes, be better at threes in 4 of those 7 games? Is that where the entire season is headed? We don't even have to pay any more attention to the Torontos and the stuff in Cleveland and anything else. And San Antonio, Kawhi, that the season is going to end up there.
Yes. That's it. That's simple.
Is it going to be Golden State's new math of threes against the Rockets trying to do the Golden State new math of threes in a higher volume?
100%. I can't wait to see it. And many people are probably thinking, well, if the Rockets get to the finals, LeBron has a chance against that team. No, if the Rockets beat the Warriors, LeBron has no chance against that team.
I do think that it's fascinating, the idea that what we're playing at the top of the sport now is math. That what's going to decide in that sport, we're going to talk about Harden and Chris Paul and everything else, but basically what D'Antoni's trying to do is exploit the market inefficiency of one shot is worth more than all the others. And over the course of a game, in a blowout basketball game, the difference is 5 or 6 baskets.
Yeah.
If you've won by 14, that means you've made 5 or 6 more baskets than the other guys. And now with the new math of threes, you win by 15, it's 5 baskets.
Yeah.
And so what Houston is trying to do is simply flood the market with threes.
They took 51 last night, 21 of 51. I love watching that team. I really do. I watched them last night against the Mavericks of all teams on ESPN. They're just fun to watch.
What is amazing about this evolution of basketball, and it has been amazing, is that Pat Riley won with the Knicks with a style of play that dragged everything into the mud, and basketball was changing the rules to try and help Michael Jordan because of how unfair it was that he would go into the lane to try and get these 2 points, and everyone would clobber him. And so it just wasn't very much fun to watch these 80-point NBA games where they always seemed like they were on the verge of a fight with Charles Oakley, and the Knicks were always on the verge of a fight because they were trying to drag everything into the sewer.
Yes.
And now we're in a place where, no, it's D'Antoni. It's open up the court. It's baskets at the rim are going to be easy because you're protecting 30 feet out on James Harden trying to shoot from out there. So Capella's going to do whatever he wants at the rim because there's not going to be anybody near the rim because of all the long rebounds. And you've made the game totally wide open for everybody in a way that's aesthetically pleasing.
What makes it interesting is Capella will get anything he wants, and it's why I think the Rockets have a chance. But Capella can also, Dan, I'm telling you, I've watched him a number of times. He can guard the perimeter. He can. He's athletic enough to do it.
To me, it is so rare that you get these evolutions in real time in sports where you can see how survival of the fittest happens. I mean, Houston has not taken the foot off the gas on chasing Golden State. Houston is still betting on will be Golden State better than Golden State.
Yep.
It doesn't seem like a very smart bet, but it's the only hope we have as fans.
Yes. Yep. I mean, Trevor Ariza last night took 14 threes.
And and that's exactly the kind of player that you want now. In today's NBA, Stugotz, what the hell is Swaggy P doing on the Warriors?
Yep.
Like in today's NBA, I'm not even kidding you when I say this. In today's NBA, is Swaggy P worth more than the draft pick coming out of Lithuania who's 7'5"? Like, is that
just because he can sit there and hit threes?
Here's what I'm asking you. At this point in NBA evolution, do you even want the 7'6" guy?
I don't think so.
You're drafting the 7'6" foreigner. Is your next question really, can he shoot threes?
Yes, that should be your next question.
That's your next question on the 7'6" guy.
Look at the Rockets. I would say I'd rather have Eric Gordon than the 7'6".
I'm telling you, we're in a weird place with basketball in this regard.
If he can't shoot threes, then can he guard people that can shoot threes?
That's right.
I mean, Dan, listen, their construction is amazing. Right. It's Capella, okay? And then what Capella's surrounded by is Ariza, Ryan Anderson, Chris Paul, James Harden, and Eric Gordon. That's their team.
I'm telling you, what's happening in basketball is fascinating to me because you never get to see these evolutions happen right in front of your eyes with the way that the game changes. But we really are in a place where you have to question whether you want the 7'9" guy if he can't shoot threes or guard them. Tim Kurkjian is next.
Dan Le Batard.
Limited fake Tim Kurkjian. What do the Royals have to do to make the playoffs?
Stugotz.
Dan, the Royals are really good.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugats on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Tim Kurkjian going to join us. We miss him. He's going to join us in just a minute here on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Here's your SportsCenter update. The Farmers Insurance Open begins today, and that brings the return of Tiger Woods to professional golf. I can't wait. His tee time is at 1:40. Mine's at 2:30. I'll be watching him on the course with a cocktail. The Patriots have officially placed Rob Gronkowski on the Super Bowl 52 initial injury report with a concussion. He's playing. And finally, what happened there? Meryl Streep has joined the cast of Big Little Lies for season 2. I mean, seriously. Whole career's a lie. For all the latest headlines and information, what happened there?
God.
What? She's an overrated actor.
Your crusade to discredit Meryl Streep when she's an accomplished person and you are not is amazing.
If you say so. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in the SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
All right, before we get to Tim Kurkjian here and some baseball stuff, let's just get into, real quick, Bob Lee telling us what P.J. Carlissimo looks like.
P.J. Carlissimo looks like the Geiger counter reader on the remote island who's the first to know some sort of catastrophe is coming to the mainland, but can't get anyone to listen to him because everyone thinks he's a kook.
The reason I bring it up is because you guys realize that Mike D'Antoni has been this for 15 years. He's been a kook in that league.
Yep.
Saying, guys, there's a shot out here that's worth more than the rest. Listen to me. And everyone's been like, you're a kook.
And now everyone's
like, wait a minute.
Yes, he was right.
D'Antoni knows something. The guy, I just thought he looked like the outside of the Pringles can.
He's a kook.
I thought he was the pilot who was wishing me a nice stay in Minneapolis when we land.
He's a kook.
D'Antoni's now saying, you idiots. There's been a shot all along on the court worth more than all the others.
Kook.
I've been telling you for 15 years.
Yep.
Kurkjian loves basketball.
Yes.
Tim, are you not amazed? I cannot believe the evolution of this sport where we're in a place where you don't know if you want the 7'9" guy because you need to ask if he can shoot threes or if he can guard them.
Yeah, it's changed so dramatically, Dan. I told you I'm way older than you guys, but when I grew up, there was a back center with his back to the basket, the low post on every possession, and the point guard was Kevin Porter, 5'10", somehow getting himself into the lane and floating one up in the air, or feeding the big man in the low post. Now the point guard is Russell Westbrook, who beats guys off the dribble at almost 6'6", and then dunks with his opposite hand over the center of the other team. That's how much the game has changed. And I told you guys the Lakers won an NBA championship making 9 3-pointers the entire season. And now teams go and shoot 45 in a game.
Yep.
That's how much the game has changed.
Crazy.
Trevor Ariza shot more last night.
Tim, it's crazy to think about. How did we not realize this sooner?
Well, it's a good point, and again, somebody finally figured out, hey, with an extra point, why not shoot it more often? But it's gotten to the point, and I'm not even being critical here, it's absurd. You're right. I see 7-footers who are shooting the three all the time now, and when they make it, I just go, oh my God. When I saw Joel Embiid make a couple 3-pointers like he's done this before, I went, all right, this is absurd.
That's right.
He's never been as big as Shaquille O'Neal, but for him to be that big and shoot a three is a joke.
That's right. No, Tim, you are absolutely right. Yes or no, if we were fighting the aliens, the first person you're sending is Joel Embiid.
Yeah, I would, because he's big, so I'm going to take the biggest guy, although, again, you've said it before, there's something inside Russell Westbrook that's never been inside anybody else.
Agreed.
And LeBron, of course, is a physical freak of all.
No, wait a minute. He's
put that on the poll,
Guillermo,
actually.
put it on the poll. Yes. Is there something inside of Russell Westbrook that there has never been inside of anyone else?
But, Timmy, you've kind of seen that in
Any
baseball.
other living thing.
Yes, it's a great question, Tim. It's a great point by you. Tim, it's kind of happened in baseball, right, where teams are saying, hey, why settle for one run when I can hit a home run and get 3?
It is actually happening in your sport, and it happened quite as fast.
Right, and here's the deal, fellas. We averaged, so there was a point there where the major league record for, I'm not saying this right, the major league record for wins in a season in which you strike out 15 or more times was like It had happened like 5 times where a team won a game striking out 15 or more times. And now it happens like 40 times a year that a team strikes out 15 times in a game and wins the game. It's because everyone is swinging as hard as they can on every pitch. And the damage ratio is so high, they think, if I strike out 3 times and hit a homer, I've had a great day. And that's how the game is played today. 40,000 strikeouts last year, 6,000 homers, 2 marks that have never been touched before, and this is where we are. It's the most all-or-nothing baseball has ever been.
Tim, I want you to answer this question without asking me any follow-up questions. I just want an answer to this. Tim Kurkjian, the best you've ever seen in baseball is blank. Do not ask me any follow-up questions. Just give me a name. The best Tim Kurkjian has ever seen is blank.
Well, it's hard.
Tim, a name.
All right, Barry Bonds is the greatest player I've ever seen.
This is the question. No. Stop.
Tone.
Stop.
I was 9 when I saw Willie Mays.
I don't want to talk to you about Willie Mays.
Doesn't count.
You answered the question. The question has been answered. This is what I want to ask you. Which do you think Barry Bonds would prefer? Hall of Famer or what you just did, which is what most people would do? Best I ever saw. Which do you think he should prefer?
I think he would prefer to be there goes the greatest we've ever seen. That's what I think he would prefer over there goes the Hall of Famer.
Because that's a fairly amazing thing to say, and I think you're right. But you would agree, right, that if you asked around in your sport, that most people would answer the way that you just answered on Barry Bonds.
Yeah, and look, we all know what happened there, yet at the same time, I cannot tell you how many Major League players that I have talked to, interviewed a million times over the years, and they all say the same thing about Barry Bonds. They've never seen anybody like him. The numbers are staggering. You guys know these numbers. I mean, he had, like his last 6 or 7 years, he had more intentional walks than he had strikeouts. Think about that for a minute.
That's amazing.
Think about the fact that he had more intentional walks one year than anyone else in his league had walked. And Greg Maddux, who's one of the great pitchers of all time, recently said that Barry Bonds was the easiest hitter in baseball to pitch to, because he said in classic Greg Maddux ease, well, if you're ever in trouble, you just walk him. And that's what everybody did. And so when you look, again, everyone has to know there's a gigantic but here. But when you're rating the greatest hitters of all time, I don't think there's a doubt about this. It's Babe Ruth, it's Ted Williams, it's Barry Bonds. That is the list.
All right. Does Jay Glazer look like he's being squeezed from the bottom up and is ready to pop? Does Dwayne Casey look like he's been waiting 4 bleeping hours to smoke this cigarette? Does Marty Smith look like the new cool guy at work, making the coworkers laugh until the former cool guy, Ryan Russillo, walks in? Does Sean McVay look like the local country club golf pro overly interested in your wife's hips during her backswing? Does Doris Burke look like the person waving behind the hosts on the Today Show holding a sign that reads, "Happy Birthday, Mom"? Does Lane Kiffin look like the coworker who doesn't look away while you type in your password during a conversation at your desk? Does Doug Peterson look like Myrtle Beach?
Don Lebatard.
You are the best, and when I say the best, I mean the very worst and most evil.
Stugats.
The worst.
But this time, it's for real.
Worst.
This is the Don Lebatard Show with the Stugats on ESPN Radio.
Guillermo, put it on the poll. When Vince McMahon announces the new XFL at 3 p.m. today, is he going to have Johnny Manziel with him?
He better.
Do you think the opening press conference is going to be Johnny Manziel and Vince McMahon reopen the XFL for business?
I think that would be great. I'm certain Johnny Manziel will be playing in the XFL. I can't wait for this.
I mean, the XFL is going to be dirty. America wasn't ready for the XFL back then, but now, when football has been forced by science to actually feel like it's going soft?
Yes. They have to go the opposite direction, right? Real men play this game, right?
Yeah, no politically correct, nothing. Like they're going, they're going to try and get Trump at their first game.
Yeah, but when it launched, it was of its time. It captured the zeitgeist of attitude and all sorts of uncensored attitude. Now, everyone's sensibilities, we're going to be clutching our pearls when we see
I wonder,
XFL.
I wonder, do you have that audio, that YouTube audio of, is it the Purdue coach? What's this guy's name who played in the XFL? Is it Brom? The guy was a quarterback in the XFL. And there's this great video on YouTube of him on it's like a mockumentary. It's like an Adam Sandberg mockumentary is what it feels like, where he is on the turf and you see that his helmet is sideways and his ear hole is where his nose is supposed to be on his helmet. And it's sideways, and then they're talking to somebody who was there, and they give you the mockumentary soundbite of like, yeah, his nose was where his ear was supposed to be, his ear was where his nose was supposed to be, there was a lot of blood. And so then what happens next is they show you this quarterback in a neck brace, and then they do the sideline interview 6 games later, where science be damned, brain trauma be damned, and put this on the poll as well, Guillermo, please. Do Pats fans care at all about how Gronk's brain is?
No.
Yes or no? Do they care at all? Not in ways that affect the future Sunday. Do they care at all? Is there a single Pats fan? Do it this way, actually. Is there one Pats fan who would agree to sit Gronk on Sunday if it meant that there would be further brain damage? Put it on them like that. They know that future brain damage is coming. Is there one Pat fan who would say, Gronk, you need to sit this one out?
You're guaranteeing brain damage.
I'm guaranteeing future brain damage. Is there one Pat fan that tells Gronk he should sit? One who cares about his brain.
If you guaranteed that to Gronk, do you think he would sit?
That's a good question, too. Regardless, let's go back to the XFL. We are looking at possibly the XFL's return at 3 p.m. today.
And this sound is courtesy of WWE Entertainment.
Okay, WWE Entertainment. This is the quarterback for which team? Do we know which?
He was the Orlando Rage.
Okay.
Yeah, he was Orlando Rage. Now he's a head coach at Purdue University. This is Jeff Brom.
All right, here's Jeff Brom being interviewed on the sideline before a game, 6 days removed, what looked like brain splattering.
Jeff Brom, how in the world are you starting this game tonight after taking that hit just 6 days ago?
Well, let me answer that question by asking you 2 questions. One, is this or is this not the XFL? Yes, it is. 2, do I or do I not currently have a pulse? Yes, I do. Let's play football.
And then he ran off. And ladies and gentlemen, I cannot wait for this 3 p.m. press conference by Vince McMahon.
It was weird that he ran off in the wrong direction.
That's right. Totally in the wrong direction. Straight into a wall like Gus Frerotte. Knocked out for the rest of the season.
Oh, man. Sound of the Day is brought to you by Dollar Shave Club. Upgrade the shaving with a fresh blade whenever you want for a fraction of the price. Join DollarShaveClub.com today. Mike had Manziel and Tebow playing in the first XFL game.
That's a kickoff game.
Yeah, it's a kickoff game.
You do everything you can to make that happen. It's a ratings bonanza.
It really would be.
Guillermo, put it on the poll. Is Manziel versus Tebow in the first XFL game a ratings bonanza?
You have Trump at the opening game? National anthem every quarter?
I mean, Trump, this is the spirit of Trump. Do not care about your politically correct science. Do not care about what you think about global warming or brain injuries.
But how many national anthems? Like every possession? Change of possession?
Oh, yes. The national anthem is playing throughout the game nonstop.
That's instead of a coin toss. There's an independent arbiter that decides who honored the flag better.
We're headed toward an interesting place here. Do you realize that Vince McMahon's got some stuff to navigate here because the NFL is also not sexy enough? Is Vince McMahon going to be able to do all of the sexy that the XFL was trying to do, where we encourage dating between the cheerleaders and the players.
It is right now. Like, he was way ahead of his time, okay, when he first launched it, but now he's got a real opportunity here. He really does.
This is Into the Breach, okay? American football have gone soft. And Into the Breach, fists on his hips, still looking at 70 years old like a bodybuilder. Vince McMahon with bleep you double middle fingers to everyone in sports. I'm in charge now. I'm here for it.
I'm watching this press conference.
At 3 o'clock, I want to see what he's going to rip Goodell, right? What's going to happen at this press conference? I am totally fine. With the idea of doing a pregame that predicts what's going to happen at 3 p.m. to be the tailgate show on this 3 p.m. XFL press conference.
What do you think's going to happen? You're always asking for a wrestling in sports. I mean, this is it.
I think wrestling in sports is coming at 3 o'clock.
I'm sick of not knowing what a catch is. Yeah. And everyone's going to be like,
you're so right. I'm sick of what are his platform points? Yes. Yes, perfect. He is speaking to America on that one. What the hell's a catch?
Helmet to helmet. What else do you hit with?
That's right.
Enough with the kickers. No kickers.
No kicking.
No punting.
In fact, you only hit to the head.
This is where we're going.
No concussion tests.
No, that's right. Ladies and gentlemen.
No protocol.
Ladies and
gentlemen. You want to get out there, you have to have a concussion.
No helmets. The 3 p.m. press conference. More brain damage.